सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
अग्रे भस्मीकृते भानुः रात्रौ तु भुक्समर्पितजानुः करतलभिक्खस्तरुतलवासः तदपि न मुञ्चत्याशाः पाशः कुरुते गङ्गा सागरगमनं वृथ परिपालनमथवा दानम् ज्ञानविहीनः सर्वमतेन मुक्तिं न भजति जन्मशतेन सुरमन्दिरतरुमूलनिवासः शय्या भूतलमजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः योगरतो वा भोगरतो वा अङ्गरतो वा सङ्गविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तं नन्दति नन्दति नन्दत्येव भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गा जललवकणिका पीता सगृधपि येन मुरारिसमर्चा क्रियते तस्य यमेन न चर्चा।
Clarification. Bhaja Govindam, last class, you said the higher and nobler and betterment in terms of spiritual angle is circle of identification. Circle of identification means I draw boundaries and tell everybody stay in that boundary. The moment you cross the boundary, circle of identification goes away. Even there, ego only comes into play. Okay. A few clarifications on this. One, what is the meaning of circle of identification? Second, should one draw boundaries or not? Should there be a boundary at all? If yes, about boundaries, what boundaries mean, types of boundaries, how to set and respect boundaries, challenges in setting boundaries, recognize where boundaries lie. Where to draw and erase the boundary regardless of the proximity or unit involved, so that at some point we can capture the complexity of the issues regarding boundaries. Get one chair. Regarding the complexity of the issue regarding boundaries, roles, and relationship, because a human being plays many different roles simultaneously. Correct. Interacting with people at various levels, like strangers, acquaintances, equals, and those higher ups, whether within the family, at work, or in an ashram. Through these interactions, one often forgets that boundaries exist. And even when aware of their existence, it's not always clear what constitutes a boundary and where those boundaries actually lie. Without this clarity, even with good intentions, it becomes hard to know where to draw the line, how much to get involved without stepping into someone else's space. no matter how close that person may be. Lacking this understanding of boundaries is leading to unintended encroachment, misunderstandings, conflict, tension, or awkward situations, often causing intentions to be misunderstood and resulting in backlash. Amma. Relationship problem, that's all. Issues, relationship issues, that's all it is. We'll go one by one. First, what is the meaning of the circle of identification? Circle of identification means affection that knows no boundaries. That is called circle of identification. Our affection, our love always have a boundary, a limitation. Are you able to follow? What is that limitation? What is the limitation that defines our affection? The limitations that defines is be my slave. Agree to be my slave. Terms and conditions apply. All love comes with terms and conditions. Are you able to follow? So circle of identification means these terms and conditions do not apply. You love. That's it. You love. This is called circle of identification. Number two, circle of identification is a universality, not a preferential relationship. Always remember, there are hierarchy of obligations. Affection is universal. This clarity is what we needed in relationship. You're able to follow the formula? Hierarchy. There is no hierarchy in relationships. There is no hierarchy in affection. Affection is universal. Performance of obligations, performance of duties and obligations differ. Are you able to follow? Now, when performance of duties and obligations differ, that itself is misunderstood as the boundary. So they believe that because my obligation is restricted to these two, three, rest of it is outside my boundary of affection. Are you able to follow? Therefore, circle of identification means the affection knows no boundaries. Now, when you express your affection in action, that's where problem starts. As long as you are having affection, there is no problem. First of all, to have affection itself is not possible. To have affection itself is not easy. Because terms and conditions comes first always. Always terms and conditions come first. In order to love somebody, there is a precondition. If I have to love somebody, what comes first? If I have to love somebody, a condition always comes first. What is the condition? Listen to me. Listen to me. Don't talk back. Just listen. Get up, sit down. Sit down. Why? Because I love you. Are you able to follow? So, circle of identification, the terms and condition is very simple. What? Be my slave. Why? Because I'm showering my love. No. What's your problem in being my slave? This is how mind operates. Are you okay till now? Circle of identification is exactly this way of living is called selfishness. This way of living is called selfishness. One. Second is what will you do to me in return? I have loved you. What will you do to me in return? What will you do to me in return? Which I said already. Be my slave. Be my slave. I am loving you. In return, what you should do? Be my slave. Be my slave means what? Be my slave means you should be, you should function according to my moods. அவ்வளவுதான். You act according to my moods. My moods are important to me. My mood is important to whom? Everybody moods is important to whom? Only to themselves. Yeah. Even the dog in the house also doesn't care. Why will it care? Isn't it? Your moods becomes important to you. So love means what? In the way that it is misunderstood, you should act according to my moods. It means independently you should not have any moods of your own. This is called slavery. Correct? This is called slavery. When I am in a joyful mood, even if you have an excruciating headache, what you should do? You should smile. When when I am having a headache, if you are joyful, you should cry. Why? Because I am crying. No. So therefore, what does slavery means? Slavery means you should not have any independent emotions of your own. You should always be aware and adjust according to my moods. This is called lack of identification. Are you able to follow? This is called lack of identification. Now, what does identification means? Identification means recognizing. Identification means a willingness to help the other, irrespective of their, a willingness to help their other, irrespective of their emotional fluctuations with you or to others. That is called circle of identification. That's why we say try this with one person first in marriage. Attempt this with one person in marriage. It's impossible to do it with one person. Forget about universal love. Where are we even talking about universal love? Adila, we have to talk about Vishwarupa Darshana, and then we have to talk about self-realization, Yogaratova, Bhogaratova. I don't know what we are even doing here, isn't it? Why? Because just to have that identification with a single person is difficult. Why it is so difficult? Because attention is upon everybody. Attention is only upon themselves all the time. Circle of identification means my attention has shifted out of me towards somebody. When the attention goes to somebody, it goes without any strings attached. It goes without any tags. What does without any strings tags means? I will help you. I am willing to help you, irrespective of your moods, blah, 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 etc. All that I said already. Are you able to follow? This is called circle of identification. Are you okay till now? This is the definition of circle of identification. Now, when the circle of identification is put into practice, lot of doubts come. Lot of doubts. Sir, problem is, love is not my problem, sir. Expression is my problem. If expression is a problem, means there's no love in the first place. Because love itself brings a clarity. Always remember this. Love and clarity are two sides to the same coin. One goes with the other. Again, I repeat, love and clarity goes together. It can never ever happen where a person has lot of clarity, intellect, not intelligence, intellect, but no love. It can never happen like that. Or a person is so much of, I'm full of love and affection, sir, and everybody can take me for a ride. It doesn't happen like that. Because love and clarity goes together. Why? Because circle of identification means reduction of ego. A person where the ego is reduced, by default clarity comes. Now, where is taken for a ride and all? Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Therefore, in circle of identification, there is always a clarity. Now, most of the time we have relationship issues and we keep saying what to do, what not to do, because we don't have that love. We don't have that love first. Are you okay till now? Once you have that love, clarity comes automatically. But our problem is we think love means it will be blinding. Clarity means it will be absence of affection. I don't know from where we get all this understanding. You follow what I'm saying? Love and clarity goes together. It's two sides to the same coin. First, we have to understand it. Now the 7, 8 clarifications that has come, I'm going to take one by one. We'll take it up one because it all concerns about relationships. So we'll take it up one by one. நீங்க போடாதீங்க ஸ்கிரீன்ல, நான் இவளை படிக்க சொல்றேன் ஒன்று ஒன்றா, இல்லையா? பாஸ் இங்கே தான் இருக்கிறாங்க, இல்லையா? Boss is here, therefore she can read it out. First clarification.
Should one draw boundaries or not?
Should one draw boundaries or not? The clarification is because of what? There is a long prologue that is given at the end. Because of not knowing the boundaries, people come, people go. I go in not knowing where the boundary is. It gets relationship gets so complicated. And everybody says, don't encroach. Everybody says, don't encroach. I need my space. This is where the question is coming from. Are you able to follow? First thing is what? Should we draw boundaries?
Should there be a boundary?
Should there be a boundary at all? The answer is till you develop clarity and love for disciplining yourself, a boundary is required. In actual growth, when you actually grow, there is no boundaries. When the actual growth has happened, there is no boundaries. Therefore, boundaries are drawn as a matter of discipline. Are you able to follow? Boundaries are drawn not because boundaries are needed. Boundaries are drawn as a matter of discipline. Not because boundaries do exist. Not because boundaries do exist. Because love means there should not be any. Love means there's no need for any boundary. Why there should be a boundary? There is no need for a boundary. Are you able to follow? The question is, what do you mean by boundary? When everybody says, I need my space, what is meant by my space? Everybody says, I need my space, give my space. What is meant by my space? I'm taking care of everybody so much that I don't have time for myself. How many people have told me that? I said, blessed you are if you have no time for yourself, I said. Blessed you are if you have no time for yourself. But everybody says, I'm taking care of everybody so much that I don't have time for myself. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Therefore, what is meant by space? When people say, I need my space, what is meant is the constant presence of the other is suffocating. Again, I repeat, the constant presence of the other is suffocating. So when I say I need my space, what I'm saying is move out of my sight for a while. That's all I'm saying. Are you able to follow? Because the presence of the other is suffocating. Again, I repeat, When people say, I need my space, what does it mean? The presence of the other is suffocating.
Physical presence.
Yes, the presence of the other, mentally, physically, both. Both, mentally, physically. Doesn't matter. The presence of the other is suffocating. Why the presence of the other is suffocating? The other is still a stranger. The presence of the strangers will be suffocating. Always remember, love means there is no stranger at all. Therefore, anybody who comes, there is warmth and welcoming. Are you able to follow? Stranger, so space means what? The presence of the other is suffocating. That's why they say, I need my time. So many people say, the best place in the house is the bathroom, they say. Isn't it true? It is true. It is true. The best place in the entire planet is the bathroom. Why? Why? You are there all by yourself. Are you able to follow? It means, what is space means? Space means your presence is, you be present, but don't be there all the time, constantly. You are suffocating. Leave me alone for a while. In teenage love, they want to hold hands together and sit. Even when they sit together, how will they sit? Isn't it? When they hold hands, they will hold hands so tightly. When they sit, they will be sitting almost on each other, isn't it? What a love it is. Isn't it? What a love it is. What a love. It is beautiful, no doubt about it. For those few moments, it is wonderful. It is so beautiful. After that, what happens? After that, what happens? Separation is why? Because suffocation is started. What is the suffocation due to? The presence of the other is not just the presence. When the other is present, there is a demand. That demand is suffocating. If somebody comes and tells you, I will be your slave and do all the work, that presence will not be suffocating. When somebody comes and says, I will come and do all the, I'll be your slave, that presence will not be suffocating. When will the presence be suffocating? When the presence of the other means a demand. And what is suffocating now? The demand is suffocating. Are you able to follow? Therefore, in relationship, boundaries means what? Space means leave me alone. Why? Because I can't cater to your constant demands. I cannot cater to your constant demands. Why? Because my capacity to cater is only limited. Why my capacity to cater is very limited? Why my capacity to cater is very limited? Because I'm already so selfish and self-centered. I myself is in need of demand so much. Where do I have time to cater to you and all? Because my demand itself is so much. Are you able to follow? My capacity to give is so limited. Why my capacity to give is so limited? Because I myself is so selfish and when I myself is demanding so much. Are you able to follow? This is called boundaries. So everybody should respect your boundary, isn't it? Should boundaries be there or not? As long as you are selfish and self-centered, when your energies are very, as long as you are selfish and self-centered, when your energy levels are low, you need to have boundaries with the clarity. What? I will exercise and get out of this limitations. Are you able to follow? That's why I said, should boundaries be there or not? It's a discipline. Because of my inability to constantly, my inability to not able to give. It's demanding. The presence of the other is demanding. Supposing the other is not there, I can go on thinking about myself that I'm so great. No, I'm ready to help, sir. I'm ready to help. I'm ready to help. but don't come into my house. Isn't it? Remember, Swamiji always gives this example. A giver will be comfortable with the taker. Everybody says, I am a giver, but nobody should come and ask anything from me. Is he a giver? Again, I repeat, a person says, I am a giver, but nobody should come and ask anything from me. The moment the person says, I want this, the suffocation starts. Are you able to follow? So, circle of identification, boundaries as a discipline is required because of our own selfishness. And I have to understand I'm keeping boundaries because of my selfishness, and I need to outgrow that. Are you able to follow?
To understand the connection, why should I have boundary? Because I have selfishness.
You need to have a boundary because you need selfishness, because when the presence of the other is demanding, your energy levels are so low that you are not able to, that you cannot cater to the other. Therefore, you need boundary.
Otherwise, I will ask the other.
Otherwise, you will not say, I need my space. You will not go and ask anybody. You will say, a person of growth will say, I don't need boundaries. I don't need space. Are you able to follow? That's the connection. Yes. One second.
When it comes going through so many variations, how to attend to the others' needs, moods, and variations?
That's all coming. Yes.
What are the second question? What are the types of boundaries?
What are the types of boundaries? The types of boundaries is the 4 categories. Stranger, acquaintance, equals, higher. Stranger, acquaintance, equal, higher. All human relations will fall under these 4 categories. Stranger, acquaintance, equals, and higher. So, because you have only limited energies, what will you do? You have to do your obligations. You have to do your nityanamitika karma. You can't be worried about, therefore, what do? You conserve from stranger to acquaintance to equal. And don't worry about the higher. Take care of the equals and the acquaintances. Don't worry about the higher. Don't worry about the stranger. The 2 extremes we need not bother at all. Are you able to follow? Why? In relation to the stranger, there is no direct obligation. In relation to the higher, you cannot say, I am catering to the higher, therefore I am neglecting the equals and the acquaintances. Are you able to follow? It's so easy to go and cater to the higher. It's so easy to go and cater to the higher because of the no demand from the other side, you will be very comfortable there. And you will think you have already grown. For you to understand whether you have grown or not, deal with equals and acquaintances. Don't worry about the higher, because what is the difficulty in being with the Shankaracharya? What is the difficulty in being with the Ramana Maharshi? What is the difficulty in being with the higher? Are you able to follow? Because the higher is not going to ask anything. Not only the higher is not going to ask anything, the higher is serving you so much anyway. Therefore, you will be naturally comfortable with the higher. Is that service? Is that getting out of selfishness? Therefore, all your efforts must be restricted to equals and acquaintances. Equals and acquaintances. But invariably, everybody wants to come and associate with the higher and say, sir, this lower, if I come to the higher and do everything, down the line, everything will be taken care of. No, it doesn't work. Your selfishness will not. Your selfishness is challenged by whom? Who exposes your selfishness? Equals and acquaintances only exposes. The higher will not do anything to. Therefore, I always say, forget the higher, forget the stranger. If you really want to grow out of your selfishness, pay attention to the equals and the acquaintance. Are you able to follow? Next one.
How to set boundaries and respect boundaries.
How to set boundaries. Respecting boundary means somebody's boundary. How to set boundaries is what you do for yourself. Are you able to follow? How to set boundaries? You know your priorities, you know your goals, you know the time in hand. Depending on all that, you set your boundaries. Are you able to follow? For example, you say, I want to do puja for an hour. Let's say that. It means for that 1 hour, you will do that. That's the boundary that you draw for yourself. For that 1 hour, you will do the puja. Are you able to follow? So you set a priority. You have the list of the priorities, the order of priorities, and the time factor, and be very conscious about it. Are you able to follow? This is how you set boundaries. How to respect boundaries. Now the other has coming into the picture. Now we are not discussing about the other now. We are talking about how you set your boundary. This is how you set your boundary. For example, you decided, okay, morning 5 to 6 I will study. If you have decided that morning 5 to 6 I will study, you study. Are you able to follow? Obviously, we all have common sense as to know where to proportion it. Obviously, we have all human beings have this basic common sense. We know how to proportionate it. Like for example, 5 to 6 I want to study, but somebody is getting a heart attack in the house. We will not say 5 to 6 I will study and not attend to the person. Obviously, this basic common sense proportion we all know. So therefore, the problem is not about not knowing the proportion. The point is, the priorities, I list out the priorities and function accordingly. That's how you set. You follow? What are your priorities? That individually you have to sit and do it. In a classroom, we cannot say what should be the priorities of everybody. Everybody should have their own. Everybody should have their own priorities according to their time, place, situation, whatever be it, and commitment to that. A commitment to that. Are you able to follow? Respecting the boundaries means commitment to that boundary. Are you able to follow?
Respect the boundaries, my boundary or others' boundary you are talking about?
Others' boundary I'm not even talking about, because we are not bringing the other into discussion at all here. We are talking about our boundary. Are you able to follow? I set a priority, I act accordingly. That's how we set our boundaries. Priorities and time factor. That's all.
The other will not come.
The other will not come in here. The other will not come in here. The other meaning, I cannot tell the other when I am doing 5 to 6, don't disturb me. Your commitment will ensure that others will not disturb. It's your commitment. There's no disturbance from the others. Others disturb only when I lack commitment. If I have a commitment, no disturbance will come from the others. It's a law. It's a law of life. No, sir, I am very committed, but everybody is no. I am committed means I am committed. Are you able to follow?
No, because I thought that respecting boundaries, because everybody has their own space, like when to talk, what to talk, how much to enter, those things are what I was believe in. I don't understand this.
Those
Segregating
things,
it.
when to talk, how much to talk, when to get in, when to get out. These are all things that cannot be discussed in a classroom. In a classroom, we can give general principles. Are you able to follow? In a classroom, general principles only can be given. We cannot specifically go into the specific, because in order to say all this, who is that person, what is your goal, so many things needs to come. In a classroom, that cannot be discussed. In a classroom, we discuss general principles.
So by general, you mean priority and
Priority.
commitment to the priority.
Yes,
That's all.
that's all. Priority and commitment to the priority. So when I am committed to the priority, obviously I will not attend a phone call. Are you able to follow? So obviously I will not talk. Boundaries doesn't mean you put a chart of what to do, what not to do to the others and distribute it to everybody. That is not boundaries. Again, I repeat, boundaries doesn't mean we make a list of what to do, what not to do and give it to everybody and say, follow this, follow this, follow this. That's not boundary. Are you able to follow? It doesn't work like that. That's not what we are discussing here as circle of identification. That's not what is discussed as circle of identification in Bhaja Govindam last week. You follow? How much to talk? 5 minutes talk, 2 minutes talk. It gets into absurdities. Are you able to follow? We cannot say talk for 2 minutes, talk for 5 minutes, talk for 30 minutes. Don't talk at all. Mundaka Upanishad says, don't talk. If at all you want to talk about Brahman. If you have nothing to talk about Brahman, if you have nothing to talk about Anya Vacha na vimunchati iti. Mundaka says, Anya Vacha na vimunchati. It makes a grand declaration. If you don't have anything to, if you don't have anything to say about Brahman, then don't talk at all. Are you able to follow? Now, those kind of things and all are very, very different, which cannot be, the practical applications of it will differ from person to person, individual to individual. That the practical applications cannot be discussed in the open classroom because it will differ from person to person. In a classroom, general formula can be given. Are you able to follow? Because the prescriptions are individualistic. There is no one prescription dished out in the classroom for everybody to follow. Prescriptions are always individualistic. Remember that. What is the prescription that is given for one will not be the prescription that is given for the next one. Therefore, in a classroom, prescriptions cannot be discussed. Only the principles can be discussed. You follow?
I don't know if I should ask this question. The challenges in setting boundaries.
Challenges in setting boundaries is, are you talking about boundaries means you set a boundary and others should restrict to it, or are you saying that I am having a problem in setting my boundary?
By setting boundary means I was believing that even to relate with the other person.
No, that's a totally different thing which we are not discussing here. Now, how to relate to, how to set a boundary relate to the other is not what we are discussing in that verse. We are not discussing relationships here. What you are talking about is relationship issues. Are you able to follow?
So roles, relationships, and boundaries are all tied together.
Individual formula, individual prescription, which doesn't apply in a classroom. Individual prescription. Ask outside the class. I will tell you.
So what about the individuals when setting up the boundaries? What are the challenges for the individuals? Is there any challenge?
Yes, the challenge is, yes, there is a challenge. When you want to set a boundary, there is a challenge. What is the challenge? I want everybody to accept it and follow it. There is a challenge in setting a boundary. The challenge in setting the boundary is I set a boundary and I automatically expect everybody to adhere to it, which is ignorance. Which is ignorance, which is unreasonable expectations. Because when I am not adhering to when somebody else makes it, when I am not adhering to it, why should somebody adhere to my boundaries? So the challenge in boundaries is always what? One is your own internal challenges, your own lack of commitment, etc. Another challenge is internal challenge and external challenge. External challenge comes from the wrong expectations that I have set a boundary and everybody should obey that, follow that, respect that. Are you able to follow? That will not, external challenges we are not talking about. Internal challenge we are talking. Internal challenge is your commitment. When you are more and more committed, external challenges goes on reducing. It's a law. Again and again and again, I'm repeating. When the internal commitment goes on increasing, the external challenges reduces. Why? It's a natural law. What is a natural law? Commitment. The power of commitment is such that challenges won't come only in the first place. Are you able to follow? I will never have a dilemma of somebody inviting me to a discotheque and I have to decide to go or not. That challenge I will never ever have, correct? Why? I will never have this challenge of, sir, Wednesday happy hours. Are you free? Kodatur, Wednesday happy hours no purida. Huh? Wednesday happy hours, sir. Will you be free? Will the dilemma come? Wednesday happy hours அப்படின்னா பார்ல ரேட் எல்லாம் லிக்கர்லாம் 50%. இல்லை happy hours அதான் அர்த்தம், isn't it? You didn't know that. You are an expert in that, I know.
I was so surprised. What is Wednesday happy hour?
Wednesday happy hours means liquor prices will be 50%. So for 100 rupees, you can have 2 bottles. On normal day, 100 rupees, half a bottle. Happy hours means 2 bottles. I will never ever have that challenge. Nobody will come and tell me, sir, Wednesday happy hours, can we go? I will never ever have that challenge. Why? Why? That's all. That itself will not arise. Nobody will come and say, Gindi season is starting, or gambling, horse races. So many challenges will not even come at all. Why? Why? Are you able to follow? External challenges can be easily taken care of by internal commitment. We are so much worried about taking care of external challenges. External challenges are infinite by nature. Your internal commitment can take care of everything like that. That's how whenever we talk about boundaries, we always talk about internal commitment, internal commitment. Follow what I'm saying? It's always internal commitment the problem. I believe for my internal commitment, I need cooperation of others. This is a fallacy in thinking. For my commitment, others needs to cooperate. Then it is not challenge at all. Then it's not commitment at all. Irrespective of the external non-cooperation only, I have to, then only it is commitment. If everybody is, for me to be good, everybody around me has to be good. If everybody around me does what they ought to do, then only I will do what I am ought to do. Whether others do or not, I will do. That's the commitment. Are you able to follow? So the challenges is always the internal commitment. So there is an internal challenge and there is an external challenge. In this classroom, we are we are worried about dealing with the internal challenges. We are not worried about dealing with the external challenges because there is no end to that external challenge. Are you able to follow?
Since you have already eliminated the external,
Yes,
I don't know how much my question is worth asking.
it's
But
not.
still I will ask.
Yeah.
The recognize
How
where
much of the question is worth asking? It's not worthy at all. Zero worth it has. But still, we put it as though it has so much of worth and shouting on top of the voice, isn't it? Saumitra, useless, no, worth கிடையாது. No worth at all in these questions. Yes, what is the question now?
recognize where boundaries lie.
Yes. All this is regarding external challenges. All the question that she's coming up is with external challenges. With the external challenges, we are not at all discussing daily.
So if it is converted to internal, so can I say that recognize where boundaries lie is in the priorities?
In the priorities. In the priorities.
Being committed to the
Being
priorities.
committed to the priority, correct? Exactly. Priorities and committed to the priority. In relationship, internal challenge and external challenge. In Vedanta, what are we trying to arrive at? We are not balancing both. Carefully follow. We are not trying to balance the internal and the external. In Vedanta, we are saying, let viruses float all over. I will develop immunity and walk in. Only that much I can do. Are you able to follow? Viruses will be floating all over. I develop immunity and walk in. That much I can do. Are you able to follow? It means it's my commitment. What is my commitment? What is my commitment? Commitment means ego has no play there. Ego has no play. My moods have no play there. That's what commitment is. Commitment means my moods have no role at all there. Are you able to follow? I woke up this morning and I say, oh, I don't feel like talking today. And send a message to Venkat that I have a toothache. and 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 everybody will send me a message also. Yeah, take care, take care, take care. What take care? It's the commitment means my moods have no. Commitment means what? My moods have no relevance in what I ought to do. Are you able to follow? My moods have no relevance at all in relation to what I ought to do. That's tapas. That's called tapas. Commitment means tapas. What is tapas? That what I ought to do, I'll do irrespective of my moods. Are you able to follow? Oh, does it mean I have to torture myself? Does it mean I really have to punish myself? No, it's not like that again. Are you able to follow? Carefully follow. The ego is an expert in finding excuses to avoid. Always remember this. The ego is an expert in finding excuses. And we are all experts in finding excuses. Oh God, the way all the creative energies of human mind goes into finding excuses to what? To what? To avoid doing what I ought to do. Therefore, that's where commitment comes, because we are experts in finding excuses. Meaning, I can find 100 mistakes with Ramana Maharshi and get agitated sitting with him also. Because mind is an expert in finding excuse, isn't it? Sitting with Lord Rama, I can find 100 reasons and get frustrated and agitated. Now, where will I be happy and peaceful? Are you able to follow?
It's the last question.
Yes.
Because the term used was circle of identification and you brought in the word boundary. So my question regarding all those things put together was where to draw the boundary and erase the boundary.
You erase the boundary by identifying that we are all one. Boundaries get erased when, for example, Take a simple example. When I walk into somebody's house, I can walk in like a stranger, or I can walk in with a lot of affection to the house and the members of the house. Are you able to follow? When I walk in into any house, I can walk in with lot of affection to the members of the house, or I can walk in like a stranger. Are you able to follow? Now I walk in with what? I should walk in with lot of affection. Why? Because we are all one. Are you able to follow? We are all one. But the ego will not allow me to. But the ego will not allow me to do that. Are you able to follow? The common sense. Because I walk in with identification, I will not ask Sudhir, what is your bank balance? Because I have identification. Isn't it? Common sense it is, isn't it? We know where to draw the line. Are you able to follow? Common sense it is. Common sense it is. But when I walk in with, whether I walk in like a stranger, where I feel so difficult even to ask for a glass of water, or I can walk in with lot of affection. Are you able to follow? Similarly, when somebody walks into my house, I can see somebody walking into my house as a hindrance, or as a welcoming. That's where Taittiriya Upanishad relationship problem we have to go to Taittiriya Upanishad. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. When the guest comes, who has walked in? God has walked in. You will not tell God before coming, tell me and come. RS, what is RSVP to God? Huh? Are you able to follow? So it means when somebody walks into my house, I can see that person as a hindrance, or I can see that person as, I can be warmth and welcoming. What makes me to be warmth and welcoming? The very fact that the person is walking into my house means there's an affection already. So I receive that affection. When I welcome the person, what I'm welcoming? Affection.
It's affection.
Otherwise they're going to ring the doorbell and stand outside the door only. They're not going to even come inside the house. Isn't it? The fact that somebody comes into the house means what? When I welcome them, what am I welcoming?
Love and affection.
I'm welcoming their affection. When I welcome the affection, the person will be automatically welcomed. Are you able to follow? That's how we see. When I walk in, I don't walk in like a stranger. Similarly, when somebody walks into my place, I understand it as affection. Are you able to follow? This is how I internally transform myself. You follow?
We are one means what?
We are one means minimum affection with people around. We are one means we are all one. Means what? We are all Indians means what? We are all Chennai people means what? We all belong to Tava means what? Are you able to follow? One. Are you able to follow? Oneness means a commonality that I have found out amongst the multitude of people around me. Are you able to follow? There is something that is in common. That's called oneness. So when I can identify with the common factor, what is that common factor? What is the common factor that I should identify with? I'll give you a clue. What is the common factor that I should identify with in the context of chapter 11? In the context of chapter 11. Vishwarupa. All are expressions of
The
divine.
divinity.
So when I'm welcoming divine. When I am when I'm resisting somebody, when I'm hating somebody, I'm hating the divine. Are you able to follow? One means remembering the commonality, the common fact. Even though there are 1.2 billion people, the moment I say Indians, the common factor has come in. So I say we are all one. Isn't it? Then I can say we are all human beings. Then we can say all are expressions of. Hmm? Yes, Divya. Unmute, Divya.
So you spoke about internal commitment being low, and if you're working towards increasing that internal commitment,
Yes.
one is how do you do that, and two, while you're trying to do that, does it help to instill discipline through setting boundaries?
Now we do that because of discipline that sets the boundaries. It is because of discipline. If I lack that commitment, if I lack that commitment, I'll be like feather in the summer breeze. As I am talking, a phone call comes, I attend to that phone call. And then I go back to work. Then some other thing comes. And so in a matter of 1 hour, I would have done 25 things. 25 things wrongly. Because not paid attention to anything. Opposite of that is I set these things I will do in these times, in these boundaries. So that's where it becomes a discipline. Commitment is an internal discipline to challenge one's own ego. Commitment is an internal discipline to challenge one's own ego. Commitment is an internal discipline not to fall a victim to one's own mood swings. Otherwise, I fall a victim to my own moods. So commitment is very important so that I can combat my ego. I cannot fall a victim to my moods. Is it okay, ma? Did I help you?
Yeah.
That's where it's very important. You follow?
Yeah.
What did you say?
When I'm that was going through so many variations, how to attend to others' needs, moods, and variations.
Yes. The question is when I am in a tamasic state, how do I serve the other? When you are in a tamasic state, your primary responsibility is to get out of the tamas. Forget about serving the others. Just as when you have a disease, your primary responsibility is to you becoming healthy first. When you are in tamas, your primary responsibility is to get out of tamas first. How do you get out of tamas? The duties, the response, the nitya naimitika karma, the right attitude behind action, all that is the way that you get out of your tamas. One way. Most of the time it doesn't work out. Therefore, in a tamasic state, what is it that you can do? In a tamasic state, what is it that you can do? Because knowledge doesn't help in the tamasic state. What helps in the tamasic state? Force. You need to forcefully do it because tamoguna you cannot come out of tamoguna through knowledge and understanding. That's why most of the time we show compassion to tamasic state. When people are in the tamasic state, we go and sit and say, oh, Ju, it's okay. Oh, they go deeper and deeper into tamas. So the way to get out of tamoguna is what? Compulsion. You forcefully You forcefully get yourself into action. Compassion, love, knowledge and all will not work in tamasic state. Knowledge and compassion works for Rajoguna person. Carefully follow. Compassion and knowledge and compassion will work for Rajoguna state. For Tamoguna state, you need to forcefully get yourself into action. That's where it is very difficult. But the tendency is to show, because in the Tamoguna, that person is already in such a bad state. What in a bad state? That's why when some, depression means what to do, sir? I said, wait. Depression means, are you saying you are depressed? Psychiatrist said you are depressed. If a psychiatrist said you are depressed, medication. If you are saying you are depressed, stubborn mind. Full stop. There's no difference. There's no problem at all. Most of the times, depression is only a stubborn mind. Are you able to follow? Even 2 days back, somebody was asking about a group of people, how do we distinguish, how to deal with this depression and all that. I said, who decided that you are in depression? If you have self-certified that you are in depression, it means you are just being it's a stubborn mind. That's all. It's a stubborn mind. What is stubborn mind? Until I get what I want, I will not move. Depression. Stubbornness is what? I will not move an inch. Let the whole lot die in front of me. I will not care. Why? Because I'm not getting what I want. No, this is Tamoguna. Now, what can be done to this state? What can be done to this state? Force. Yeah. Force. In a classroom like that, it cannot be said. The only way is what? Take a whip, that's all. Yeah, just whip. Just whip. 3 types of horses, Ananda. Buddha said, 3 types of horses, Ananda. The best horse is shadow of the whip is enough. Yeah. Just one word here, just one word there is enough. It will move. Yeah. Mediocre horse. Cracking sound of the whip is enough. It will move. Rajoguna. Tamoguna. Tamoguna. Yeah. You have to whip only. Don't worry, we will not do all that. Because in this classroom, we have decided we are only going to entertain. And then we will not do all that. So in this classroom, we have taken a vow of entertaining people. Therefore, we will not do this whipping and all. We will not do here. But actually, we feel like doing that only. Week after week after week, make everybody stand in line and just whip and send them back. Just whip and send them back. Divya, not literally here. Are you able to follow? That's how it works. Moguna has to be dealt like that. And most of the time, predominantly it is Tamoguna. Therefore, it has to be dealt with you need to have lot of compassion to be non-compassionate. You know that? To be strict, you need lot of compassion.
Yes.
Unless you have lot of love, you can never be strict. You can get frustrated. That's a different story altogether. We are not talking about frustration here. To be strict, you need to have lot of love and affection and compassion. Then only you can be strict, isn't it? Like the physiotherapist, isn't it? That man was saying yesterday, from tomorrow I will do. From tomorrow I will do. She was saying, this is what you are saying for the last 5 days. Either you do today or I will come and move, she said. The physio. I was like, I said, wow, You are a fantastic girl, Maya said. Like a fantastic. Because every day, man, tomorrow, tomorrow. How when is the tomorrow? Are you able to follow? She said, if you are not moving today, I will come and because if she comes and moves, it's going to pain more. So might as well you move by yourself a little bit. Are you able to follow? Always remember this. You need to have lot of love and affection is required to be strict. Because you understand tamoguna has to be dealt that way only. You follow that? Very. How much Arjuna tried in Bhagavad Gita, trying to convince Krishna, isn't it? Have you ever seen beautiful Bhagavad Gita? Upanishads, there's no problem at all because there's a question that is asked. The Shishya is attempting to convince oneself regarding what the Guru says. In Bhagavad Gita, what happened? The Shishya is attempting to convince the Guru now, isn't it? Yeah, he does the other way here. No, he's trying to convince Krishna. Yeah. Somehow agree with me, no. Somewhere agree with me, no. What is your problem? What is your problem? Why can't you agree with me? Why can't you agree with me? Are you able to follow? Krishna said, if ignorance and foolishness can be stubborn, wisdom can be. Always remember this. If ignorance and foolishness can be stubborn, wisdom can be much more because in wisdom, the power of selflessness is there. The power of compassion, the power of love, the power of selflessness is there. Because of the power of love and selflessness, they could do it. Are you able to follow? So tamoguna means have to be dealt with very, very strictly. Only have to deal with tamoguna. Yes.
So all questions and complaints regarding external only indicates that I have to work on myself because of that selfishness.
Yes.
So once the selfishness is thinning out, then you understand that there is no complaints as such.
Exactly. What she said is, Bhaja, I'm very happy. I don't know about breakfast I'll get or not, but answer I'm very happy. She said, no point in complaining about the external challenges because it is there only because of my own selfishness. Correct? Yes. The external appears to be challenging only because of your selfishness. External doesn't challenge at all. There's no external challenge because external is Vishwarupa already. Where is the challenge? External is Vishwarupa. Are you able to follow? External is divine. External is God. Where is the challenge from that? The challenge always comes from
Me.
the ego. Internal. It always comes from the ego. What is the ego? The ego is this. I will be selfish and self-centered and find an excuse so that my conscience doesn't prick me for my selfishness. It's the ego. Again, I repeat, ego means what? I will be selfish. And then I will find a reason to support my selfishness so that my conscience doesn't prick me. I can go back saying, I'm right with the ego. So ultimately it means what? Selfishness is right. What is ego? Selfishness is right. The knowledge comes and says selfishness is not right. Why? Because selfishness means misery. Selfishness means misery. How can misery be right? Misery cannot be right. Yeah. Are you able to follow? That's where we talk about renunciation. Renouncing what? Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. Meaning, will this person not be happy? Will a person of renunciation not be happy? Of course, he is the only one who can be happy. If a person of no ego seems to be unhappy, I have no ego, sir, but I am very unhappy. It means what?
Yes.
It means what? He is not even aware that he has a very strong ego. That's all. Are you able to follow? If the renouncer is unhappy, then his understanding that he is a renouncer is wrong. For a renouncer can never be a renouncer can never be unhappy.
Hmm.
A renouncer can never be a selfless person will never do. A selfless person will never do anything that's wrong, harmful, hurtful. Why? Because that's the love they have. Are you able to follow? Therefore, proof of no ego is what? Proof of no ego is joy, bliss. If you are blissful, you have no ego. And you cannot be blissful at all. Why? Because you constantly face challenges. Are you able to follow? The challenges is because of what? The challenges is because of the ego. Challenges. The world doesn't. Yesterday, the boy came. He said, oh, I'm feeling so guilty. I'm feeling so guilty. I'm feeling so guilty. I said, what? I killed my mother. I said, what? What? You suffocated her or what? You stuffed the pillow on her face or what? What did you mean I killed her? It's your ego. You took her to the doctor. You did what you can do. That's all. But your ego makes you to believe that because you have taken her to the doctor, she should be alive. It's your ego. Are you able to follow? I can only take to the doctor, but whether the death of the person is not decided by
Me.
me. I said, how egoistic you are to decide that
I have killed her.
that you can kill somebody. Are you able to follow? In chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, he says, you are a fool, Arjuna. If you think you can kill somebody, you are a fool. If you think you can be killed, you are a fool. If you think you can hurt somebody, you are a fool. If you think somebody can hurt you, again you are a fool. Why? Because nobody can hurt you. Are you able to follow? Ego comes in, the ego comes into play all the time. Because I did what I ought to do, condition I put. That is ego. Are you able to follow? Karmanye vadikaraste mapaleshu kadachana. Ego, no ego means what? I will do what I ought to do. Whatsoever the result is, that's the right result. Are you able to follow? Again, I repeat. I will do what I ought to do. Whatsoever the result is, that's the right result. It's just ego. Most of the time, we find. I asked him, okay. I asked that boy, I tell you straight away how your ego has come into play. Yes, sir. I said, okay. 5 years back, I told you to quit smoking, you quit smoking. Yes, sir. In the last 1 month, how many packets you smoked? Did you know that? I said, I know how mind functions. No, it's waiting for an excuse. It's waiting for an excuse. I did it. Now that I am so stressed, I need to smoke. Look at the ego. Are you able to follow? Said, sir, Munji Lakshamari, you are saying. I said, Munji Lakshamari, you are slapping me. He said, yeah, what do I do? Because you are in such a tamasic state. Slap only will cure. He said, how many packets you started smoking in the last 1 month? Because you are so stressed out, no? I said, what? I said, don't try all this. You go and cry to the whole world will be compassionate to you. I am saying you are just being simply, you are just being egoistic and your indulgences are waiting for an excuse. Your indulgences are waiting for an excuse and it came. If somebody else were to sit, supposing if his wife or his brother or sister were to sit, they would have thought, I am the most heartless. Even the so-called dictators also would look compassionate in front of me yesterday. In that 1 hour, even the so-called dictators would have looked up. In the tamoguna, that's how you need to are able to follow. Ego is that. Ego works like that. We need to know how to deal with the ego. It's not that. To deal with the ego is not that easy. Carefully follow. If you have known how to deal with your ego, you will know how to deal with the ego of everybody around. If you have not dealt with your ego, you will be tortured by everybody around you. Again, I repeat, if you have dealt with your ego, life is so easy after that. If you have not dealt with your ego, anybody in the world can torture you after. Are you able to follow? That's what he says. To a person, kasya sukham na karoti ragaha. For a true spiritual person who has dealt with the ego. Are you able to follow? Yes.
Vedanta says problem is with the perception.
Yes.
Outside.
Yes.
Like if I'm seeing a lot of Ravanas and Surpanakas outside,
Yes.
I'm not able to see here.
Yes.
Very few Ramas are outside. So
She's saying lot of Surpanakas and Ravanas, she's saying, and very few Ramas in plural. Oh my God. I also love to see the plural Ramas. Yes. Hardly no Rama. Correct. Now only your perception is correct. Hardly there is no Rama around. Yeah. Now what is your question?
Vedanta says you try to see what you are seeing is what you are.
Yes.
I'm not able to see all that in me.
Yes.
How to see?
You cannot see it. You will not be able to see it because I am right. The ego means I am.
Yes, right.
The ego means I am right. இதுல எதுக்கு சார் நீங்க டிஸ்கஷன் எல்லாம் போட்டு இருக்கீங்க? Why are you even talking all these things? For it is very straightforward. What I am right. There are two types of conversations. The first one is not a conversation at all. It's a monologue. Second one only is a conversation. And most of the time we have only monologue, no conversations at all. What is the first type of conversation? One is that you believe whatever you say is correct. Why? One type of conversation is where you believe whatever you say is correct. Why? Because I am saying it. No. Hold on, isn't it? Because I am saying it, whatever I say becomes correct. Where is the problem? That's how ego works. Are you able to follow? Because I am saying it, whatever I say is correct. Somebody asked me about the American election, yesterday. I said, I don't even understand Indian election. How will I understand? I don't even understand Indian election. Why will I understand American election? But everybody has their own opinions about everything, and you can see the authority with which they speak, the authority with which they talk. Where does it come from? Because whatever I am saying is correct. Because who's saying it?
I am.
I am saying that's all. Therefore, it is correct. There's another kind of there is another kind of conversation. What is another kind of conversation? The another kind of conversation is what we call as transaction of knowledge. There's another kind of conversation is what we call as the transaction of knowledge. What is that conversation? According to whatever I know till now, I believe this is a fact. According to whatever I know till now, I believe this is a fact. But I'm ready to know more. If there is anything more to be known, I'm ready to know more. If something more comes in, I'm ready to change. Are you able to follow? I'm ready to know more. If something more comes in, I'm ready to change. Are you able to follow? Opposite of this is what? Whatsoever you say doesn't matter. It is wrong. Why? Because you are wrong. Follow? I know. In comparison to I know, you don't know. I don't know. Last week or sometime back, Swati showed one picture to me and said, "This is you," she said. The whole planet is on one side, I am on this side. One guy is standing on that side. So she wrote my name under that. And then this guy, one puny fellow standing this side. Whole lot, billions are standing on the other side. And then this one puny guy looking at all other guys and say, "You are all wrong." Yeah, this is you, she said. Yeah, perfectly correct.
Perfectly.
I know, therefore I am right. You don't know, therefore you are wrong. Are you able to follow how it works? Carefully follow. I know, therefore I am right. I know, therefore I am right. Because I know and I am right, I am indispensable. I am very important. I am very important because only I know. No. எனக்கு தானே எல்லாமே தெரியும் அப்படின்னா யார் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் இதுல? I am the most, so I know I am right, therefore I am indispensable. In comparison to that, who are you?
You're nobody.
You don't know. If you don't know, you are
Dispensable.
You are wrong. Therefore, wrong people can be easily dispensed with. That's the ego.
Yeah.
Are you able to follow? Well, I know. We tell people love and not to judge, but we train people to judge and take away love. We tell people love, but don't judge. We train people only to judge and take away the love. We say one thing and we do exactly the opposite. What we say and what we do, hypocrisy, double standards. The hypocrisy, the double standards is we believe. Whenever a person shows what you see as fact is not a fact, you must have courage to bow down to that person. That is growth. That is no ego. Are you able to follow now? Definitely you have to believe. Definitely you must know something as truth. Up to this point, there is no problem. But if you believe this is the end of it, then only it's a problem. So someone comes and tells you what you have known as the truth is what you know as truth, what you know as fact is wrong. If somebody tells you that, immediately you should have the courage to
Change. Accept.
immediately you should be able to have the courage to bow down at that person's feet. Why? Because your interest is in the search of the truth. Your interest is in the search of the truth. You are not interested in your ego or the other person's ego. You are not interested in pampering yourself, or you are not interested in pampering the other. You are interested in the search of the truth. Are you able to follow? Therefore, Ravanas and who's the other one? Shurpanakava. See, I am teaching Mandodari. I am teaching Mandodari, Sita, Draupadi, Surpanaka, Ravana, what to do. Anyway, you see a lot of Ravanas and Shurpanakas outside. Okay. She is seeing a lot of Ravanas and Shurpanakas. Vedanta says, if you see Ravana and Shurpanaka outside, they are
in you also.
They are inside of you. They are inside of you. World is the mirror. Mirror means it has no image of itself. That's why it's called a mirror. What is the difference between mirror and a photograph? Photograph has its own image. No, it will not change. Mirror means it has no image of itself and it will reflect everything faithfully. World is the mirror. Duryodhana told Krishna, I can't find one trustworthy person, including you, Krishna. In fact, you are the most. Trust but oh God. And it is the truth. Huh?
As far as he is concerned.
And it is the truth. It's truth. Worldly, materialistic people can be believed, but the spiritual people are. Isavasi Upanishad, correct. Ordinary people are in blinding darkness. Spiritual people are in greater than blinding darkness. If you see a Ravana or a Shurpanaka, how do you see them? Do you see them with compassion, or do you see hatred and wanting to punish? That's all the differences. You see a Ravana and a Shurpanaka, do you want to? Hatred comes in or compassion comes in. Very difficult to be compassionate. Very difficult to be compassionate. Why? Because the mistakes of the others gives you a moral authority to take a higher stance. Ego likes it. Ego likes to find the mistakes of others because in comparison to the mistake, you can take a moral authority and say, I am superior. Ego plays this game. These are all the games of the ego. Therefore, Vedanta comes in this. No. This Ravana and Shurpanaka and all is in you, full stop. You may agree, you may not agree. You can say get lost, doesn't matter. But the truth doesn't change. What is the truth? You are the combination of Ravana plus. Why? Because hatred comes. You have a mistake. When somebody sees you with that hatred, are you okay? When you make a mistake, how would you want others to look at you? With hatred or compassion? Double standard. When you make a mistake, you want others to look at you with compassion. But when the other makes a mistake, you will look at them with hatred and wanting to punish and break each and every bone. The law works. You will suffer. The law works. The law doesn't, you can agree, the law doesn't change at all. It punishes you. How it punishes you? mental agony, pain, misery, insecurity, suffering. Are you able to follow? Therefore, world is a mirror. World is a faithfully reflects. Are you able to follow? Faithfully reflects. If somebody is a Ravana, there is a law that's going to take care. Why are you getting agitated about it? Agitation because you don't believe in the law. You get agitated and frustrated because you don't understand the law. You don't have conviction in the law. The moment you have conviction in the law, you understand what? Assuming that it is a Ravana, there is the law that's going to take care. Why should your blood pressure? Are you able to follow? But if you see a Ravana in you, your blood pressure should increase. If you see Ravana outside, compassion should increase. If you see Ravana in you, your blood pressure should increase. But we do exactly the opposite. If I see a Ravana in me, I will want to hide it and cover it up. When I see Ravana in somebody, oh, I can't tolerate, sir. I can't take injustice. I have to fight for justice. All right. Okay. With this, we conclude for today. We continue next week.